This auto shop growth workshop is basically what we'll be doing. We do this every month based on certain topics. And so it's really for any auto repair shop, auto body shops and collision detailers, paintless dent repair, including hail and custom shops, as well as probably any local shop or local business out there could really benefit from this. But the advice we're giving here, the inputs is basically from experience that we've seen. So real quick about us, about me. My background is military. As you can see from this picture, 21 years in the Navy, uh, many years flying this helicopter. And now really the service has transitioned into small businesses. The marketing strategies we talk about are all based on results we've seen from these different shops. So we actually got started with helping a PDR shop, saw lots of results and really transitioned that into other local shops. So what I want you to think about is nearly every business has this one thing in common. And it's really whether you're Apple or small business, small local hair salon or whatever, will all take more customers. If you had a line of, I would argue if you had a line of customers out the door, you'd probably try to figure out how to take care of them. It might be difficult. It might be impossible at first, but you're going to try to figure out how to take care of those. But the issue is, how do you actually get those customers? And that's what we'll talk about today, how to get those. Before doing that, put yourself in your customer's shoes. So think about how your customers find you, how your business looks to your customer, and that will kind of give you some insight into how they find you, how they see you online, or wherever it is they're going to find you. Before we talk about auto, here's a basic example: is find a restaurant nearby for lunch. I think we're a little past lunch now, but for whether for dinner, if you're not in your local area, chance obviously if you're in your local area, you probably know how to find one. But if you're looking for someplace outside your area, how would you find that? And now we can go into the auto side. Where's a good auto repair shop or auto body, PDR, whatever you want to call it? So where would you find that? Where would you typically find this answer? Think about it from your perspective, from your customer's perspective. And I will tell you, it's most likely not yellow pages or mailers, even though it's funny, I've actually gotten some of these yellow pages booklets in the mail recently, and I'm not really sure who's still using those. They've actually got some ads in there. Well, most people are not using that. Most people, what they're going to do, and you probably came up with this answer already, is they're going to Google it. So that's how people are finding you. We'll talk about how that demand correlates to your business here in a little bit, but it's really on Google Maps and Google Search. So I'm going to show you an exact example here in a few minutes. But Google Maps, you can pull that up and type in some of these things. You could pull it up on Google Search, just a regular search, which actually happens to go across many different websites as well. So here's another thing to think about besides searching for things. If you were to talk about a favorite brand of yours, or search for it online, doesn't even have to be a favorite. It could be a service, could be boating, could be a resort you're talking about going to, but it could be a location. Chances are good, and you've probably experienced this, that if you do these things, you're probably going to get an ad on Facebook later. Maybe you'll get one right now if you talk about that. And why does that happen? Well, we know that Facebook is listening. And in fact, Facebook has about 52,000 data points on you and growing, which obviously is creepy. But for small business owners like yourselves, it's very powerful. It's something that you can utilize, obviously, to get in front of those customers who are interested in your business because Facebook knows they are, or they've recently talked about it, like we just said. So transitioning over to something else, thinking about the negative side of what could happen with the business. So why do most businesses fail? Now there can be obviously many reasons, but if we talk about the most basic piece about a small business, they're probably not getting enough revenue. And why is that? It's most likely because they don't know you. Not enough people are hearing about you. I assume that you have a good product or service. Most people do. So most people will have the demand looking for you. And so it's not that you do have a bad product or service, it's just that people don't know you. They're, and it's not the market. I hear this a lot that, oh, it's a bad time of year, there's inflation, the bad season or the economy. For us in auto repair services, that's all false. The real key is they fail to advertise. And we'll see that the demand for auto repair services is constant throughout the year, especially as you're looking at auto repair, auto body, collision, PDR, even detailing, which you don't really need it. You don't really need PDR, but people want it. People are looking for that stuff, uh, and they want to fix their cars. They want their cars to look good. So that's kind of what you need to think about. Now let's think about how you currently get customers. And if for most people, if you're not advertising, you know, and then how do most auto shops get customers? Here's the main thing I hear constantly day in day out, and this is from big shops as well. The most common thing is word of mouth and referrals. Those two pieces are great to have for your local business. You want a lot of word of mouth and referrals. You want people who are referring you and saying how great your business is. But if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to add X number of car count every single day, you simply cannot increase the volume. You can't increase the number of word of mouth and referral leads you get every day. It's just not possible. Hopefully you get those, but you can't turn that up. So how do you do that? Well, I'm going to show you what I call the 5 keys for auto shops to get more calls, quotes, and increase car count. And it kind of comes in those stages. So you don't just increase your car count, you kind of got to get calls and quote requests at the same time. And that's going to give you the strategies. So real quick, what are you going to learn today? Hopefully you'll get these 3 pieces. And I think from people I talk to every single day, these things, a lot of shop owners are not thinking about this. They want more cars, but they don't have the actual strategies to get there. They haven't really identified these things. So whether you're just starting out or whether you have a decent sized business, hopefully this will help you real quick. And you're going to identify your car count goal, the leads to hit that goal, and then the strategies to get the leads. So real quick, what is your auto shop growth goal? Now we've got people on here, but I'm not gonna call you out and ask you, but this is something for you to think about. Now I'm gonna show you a little calculator here that if you haven't thought about this, this is gonna really help you in a few minutes. So first off, how many more cars do you want or customers do you want per day? So I understand some shops might, overlap cars, customers per, over the whole week. So if you think about per month, that's fine, but we'll get there. Then how many days a week are you open? What's your average customer ticket value? Okay, so those 3 pieces. And now let's take a look at what I've created. And I'm going to give you guys the link for this later too. It's kind of a lot easier to use here, but this is the auto shop growth calculator I've actually created, and it's pretty simple. So let's start with, I actually already plugged in some numbers here, but let's back this off to 0 so it makes sense. So going through this, the yellow items are what I'm going to fill in. Average customer ticket. Obviously, in auto, you can have, low ticket detailing for a couple $100 or even PDR, a couple $100 up to thousands of dollars for various auto repairs or collision or hail repair. Could be tens of thousands of dollars. So, but let's stick with, let's say $2,000 is our average customer ticket. You're just gonna have to plug in your own numbers for yourself. Average number of additional customers or cars per day. Now, let's say this is a smaller shop and all they want is one more customer per day. All right. And they're open 5 days a week. We're going to make this easy. And so all they want is 20 more customers per month. Now, over in the right hand, you're going to see this average lead cost. Now, for average lead cost, you may not know what that is right now, but it depends on what your marketing strategy is. And for what we're seeing online for Google, Facebook, various things, for auto repair, auto body, a lot of auto services, we're seeing $10 to $20 a lead. It could be a little bit more, but let's just say 20. And it actually can be less than this as well. For hail repair, it can be a lot higher than that, but obviously it's a higher return. So 20, let's go with $20 a lead. Now let's say, what's your lead closing percentage? So what I mean by that is out of every 10 people that call you or request a quote, how many actually come in? So I hear shops that say, hey, I get 8 people out of 10, 80% or 90%. Some are 20% because maybe their sales process isn't that good. But let's just say it's 50. Let's say 5 out of 10 close. Okay. This is going to make the numbers easy to look at, but So for that number, assuming these costs are correct, if you want 20 more customers per month, you need 40 leads because half, you only get half of those. So that's about 1.3 leads per day. Anyway, 40 total per month. And now, based on that, you only need to spend about $26 a day. And that's actually not bad for a shop just starting out for $800 a month. So I realize there are shops on here that are much, much bigger than that. So let's say you're like, no, I need five per day. So five per day, you want 100 customers a month. And let's say your closing percentage, we could stick with 50%, but we could say 70. And now we know you need 143 leads and it's going to cost you around $100 a day. So these are things you can look at and manipulate these numbers. I'd rather err on the side of being a little bit more conservative, but it's just, this is a good planning tool to say, oh, well, my goal is this. This is all I need to do. So for some folks, this is way out of reach, but for some folks, this might be your expectation. Anyway, that's the AutoShop growth calculator, and helps you to see your car count goal. Hopefully, you figured that out. Um, I'll send you the link for this later, guys, and it's a lot easier than on our website to do that. So now we talked about the leads you want, but how do you get those leads? So it's one thing to say, hey, I need 150 leads or 40 leads, but how do you actually get those? That's where these strategies come in. That's where these are the keys to really attract more customers. And what we're talking about is online leads. So in order to get leads, to get people who are going to give you their information online, well, you need to start with an online presence. And most people here, most shops do have this. Most have a website, Google Business. This is Google Maps listing and Facebook. Some people don't have this, surprisingly. And if you're one of those people, you need to get these. Obviously, a website might cost you something to get. But the good thing is, Google Business is free. It's easy to set up. You might have to get verification on that, but you need to get it verified. Facebook Business is easy to set up and get found on. Uh, and really, with Facebook Business page, this is really kind of the key to you running Facebook ads. So those three places. And I'm kind of going through this quick. We could talk a lot about websites and Google Business and how to optimize that stuff. But right now, I'm assuming that you guys have that. And like once again, I assume most shops have it on the left side. Most shops are either missing or not optimizing some of these things on the right. So if you aren't running ads at all, chances are you're not doing Google or Facebook or follow-ups. Uh, Even if you are, you may have some room to optimize the stuff on the right with Google, Facebook, etc. If you're not kind of seeing the lead numbers that we're talking about earlier. All right. So which ad platform really works best for auto shops? This kind of depends on several things, and it's really your shop. If you have all these things set up that I talked about earlier, your shop location, your the population density around you. So if you're in a big city versus a real small town, that can come into play. And then also the type of service. So auto repair, auto body collision, details, etc. So I'm gonna give you kind of a breakdown here. Really, the big thing to think about is that you should be advertising on the platform that your audience is using. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to show you some numbers as far as Google goes. But let's say for instance that your audience isn't on any of those things and your audience is on TikTok or whatever, or Reddit or some other place we're not talking about, which isn't really true, but if they're on there, then that's really where you want to be at. But for auto, most of them are on the ones we're going to talk about here. And here's where we would recommend starting is Facebook, Google, and YouTube. And I would probably say that most of the time it's going to be Google first for auto. I just kind of listed it in this order because I think the alphabet is in alphabetical order. So, uh, and if you're kind of limited on funds, here's where you would start. And then if you only have one place to go, it may be Google or Facebook. I'm going to show you that here in a second, depending on your specific service. So let's talk about Google Ads real quick. This is getting in front of people who are searching for your service. Now, you might think to yourself, well, people aren't searching for my service. And of course, that's a great question. Are people searching for your service? Let's look over at, I'm going to give you an example here of a map. Let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so this is, I don't know if you can recognize this. This is actually Philadelphia. So I'll zoom out so you can see that. So this is actually the Philadelphia area. And you can do this for any area you're in. Uh, and let me just show you here. This is actually, I searched for auto repair shops. I'm going to show you these here in a second. But I wanted to show you that this is auto repair shops. And we could probably pull up a lot more. These right here are the Google business listings, if you're not familiar with that. Um, when people are searching here, that's where they're going to pop up on Google Business or Google Search. But how many people are actually searching? Well, I'm glad you asked because here's the numbers. This is data as of a couple days ago, the 21st. This is straight from Google. There's a number of tools that you can use to pull up this data, but this is free. You can actually, anyone can get access to this. So you can go in and plug in your area, which if you're in Philly and you're an auto repair shop, this is perfect info for you to know. But anyway, the here is the data that you would get. So if you're in a certain area, you would want to plug in your location and then type in the keywords that people are looking for you for. So for auto repair, it'd be mechanic near me, auto repair shops. And that's going to give you all these variations. If you're auto body collision, you type that in. And then same thing with PDR, paintless dent repair, or detailers. You wouldn't want to type in all those because you would want to know specifically what keywords people are looking for you. All right, so this isn't a lot of numbers here, but the most important thing to realize is in Philadelphia, 309,000 searches per month for variations of auto repair. So if I scroll down, you're going to see probably a couple thousand searches, but we go down here, we got cheap mechanics, we got Dodge mechanic near me, Ford repair shop. So all those big ones and then all these little ones, BMW car repair. So all these searches combine in Philadelphia to equal 309,000 searches per month. In your area, you'd have to check, but a good rule of thumb is that auto repair probably gets the highest number of searches, and that makes sense because people need to repair their car, keep it running. The next biggest search volume would typically be auto body and collision repair. And then after that, it might be paintless tint repair, detailing, stuff like that. But those can still be significant, but it's important to check your area. Now, this yellow highlighted thing that right have numbers I have here on the right are the average cost per click. So it's called pay per click, if you've heard of that before. And what that means is mechanic near me, if you have a ad for that mechanic near me, then it's going to cost in this range per click, $1.24 to $3.89. So basically, when someone clicks on your ad, Google, that's when Google charges you. Let's say it's $3 per click. Well, we care about that, but we don't care so much about that. What we care about is the cost per lead. Let's go back to our lead calculator because what I showed you before was that the average lead cost was about $20. So if you keep in mind that clicks, a certain number of clicks gets you a lead. So if a lead costs, let's say $4 to make it even, then people click on your ad, then ideally, one of those becomes a lead. Then out of all those leads, some of those become customers. That's where your closing percent comes in. So that's kind of the corollary is clicks turn into leads, leads turn into customers. So you kind of have that, you're going to have that flow. You're never going to get 100%. So I hope that makes sense. It's kind of difficult to understand a little bit, but that's the average cost. That's kind of similar across the board, across the US. All right, let's go back to um, the maps here. All right, so here on this map now, let me kind of expand this a little bit maybe and show you how an ad might show up. I probably won't be able to see an ad because of I'm not in that area. See, make sure I can still see it. Okay, so you guys can see the dots. And when someone's typing in auto repair shop, over here on the left, this is Google's going to give you what they consider the best results based on where you're located on that map. All right, so as you can see, you got these guys with really high reviews. And if I scroll over around, it's going to change a little bit. If I zoom in, it will change. So this guy's got a lot of reviews, and this one's a little bit less. This one's more, but it's slightly out of my area, so that's probably why. Now, where does the ad come in? Right now, of course, I'm not in this area, so I'm not going to see an ad, or I should not. An ad will come up, pop up at the top of this, and even if you have zero reviews, you can beat out the guy with 196 reviews. So that's the important part is the ad helps get on top of it, even if you're not in the proper area. So let's say you want to run your ad for all of this area in Philly. You want to make sure the targeting's set up correctly. And then you will show up on top of this. You won't show up 100% of the time. That's going to cost too much, but Google kind of rotates those ads around. And what happens is as you click in the ad, as someone clicks on it or calls you, it tells Google that, hey, this is a lead. This is working. This is what I want. Now, if we go back to this spreadsheet here, if someone were to look for, let's say you have auto repair near me, but the because of the way you have it set up, an auto body shop, you might auto body shop near me, it comes up, uh, but you're not an auto body shop. You don't want those words to pop up. Well, if that clicks on there and they don't become a lead, that kind of tells Google, well, that wasn't a good result. But you're gonna have to go into Google search and basically tell them not to do that. So there's some optimization things you need to do in there to make sure that you're not getting the improper leads, improper clicks, if that makes sense. I know that I'm going through that kind of quick just to tell you about it. So, okay, back to here. The big point is that with that ad, it's allowing you to get above these people very quickly. And typically what happens is we see people looking for auto repair shop or maybe it's, Billy Bob's auto repair shop. That first one, somebody's looking for Billy Bob's repair shop, but yours comes up instead. They end up clicking and calling you. And there's a good chance that you can actually take that business from Billy Bob. Now, if that car is at his shop, that's a little bit different. But the big point is this allows you to kind of take those search results that people are trying to get and translate that to your specific shop and your lead. I hope that makes sense. Let's go back in here to the kind of presentation and um, talk about this a little bit more. All right, so that was the Philly stuff. And um, when someone clicks on your ad, another thing I want to mention, the big thing you want is phone calls or quote requests. And how do you get quote requests? You need to be using a landing page. A lot of times, what people will do is they will put their website in as the destination. The problem is that your website, while it should be very good and have a lot of information, a lot of times there's too many options on the website for an ad. What I mean by that is you might have, five, six different links that you can click at the top. You might have a bunch at the bottom and get quote and all this stuff, which that's great for the website. But for a landing page, you really only want them to fill out your form or call you. Uh, I mean, you guys have probably seen the movie, the squirrel and all this stuff. So when someone gets distracted easily, it's a better chance that you're going to lose that lead. You want to give them very limited options on this stuff. So we can go through this more, but the idea is that you capture that lead as quick as possible. All right, so what shops should use Google Ads? I kind of already went over this a little bit, but pretty much all of these shops here. Now, there can be some specific numbers here, and if you're just getting started or have a limited budget, this is kind of where I'd cut off the yellow cutoff. So auto repair shops and body collision repair shops. Um, Typically, in most places out there, they're going to have a very high demand, even in a small town, small region area. PDR might be one of those things where it may or may not be good if it's in a small town. It's really where you need to check those numbers. Below that, if you're just getting started, detailing custom shops can still show up in search, but you might get quicker results on Facebook. So it's one of those things you can't always say specifically, but auto repair, I pretty much definitely say start with Google and auto body as well. So how can Google Ads help your shop? I kind of went over this with the ad, how you'd see that on Google Maps, but really it's getting in front of people who are searching, like we talked about, and then you want to capture a lead from either a lead form or a landing page, like I just showed you. So this would be an example of a landing page. So the other thing would be phone calls. In some cases, we see a lot more phone calls than we do uh, lead form submissions, which is fine because a phone call might actually be better than someone submitting their form. If someone calls you, has enough, uh, uh, is ready to purchase whatever, and they're willing to take the time to call you, that's really good. Sometimes those calls are very quick and they don't connect very well, and maybe it's the wrong number, whatever. Well, we don't really count those. What we want is phone calls, and I didn't put this over here, phone calls over 60 seconds. That would really be the best lead is the ones over 60 seconds because we assume if they're talking to you that long, then they actually are going to come in. Now, some could say, hey, asking for where you're at and come in and get a quote could be less than that. But in either case, the biggest piece you want is phone calls and the quote request or estimate request that transitions into an appointment. All right, the next question we get is how long does Google Ads take to work? Well, we've seen it start working right away, within a few days, a few weeks. But practically speaking, it's going to take a little bit more time than say Facebook. If you have things set up really well, all of your conversions are set up really well, like I said, you can start getting that right away. But keep in mind it takes data. And the data, if we walk through it, is someone clicking on, you know, when someone looking for mechanic near me, clicking on that, clicking on mechanic near me, and then on your ad, and then clicking on phone call or quote request, filling out the form, it converting properly into the data that Google says is a conversion and sending it back. So that's the data and the time. If you're only spending the $20, $25 a day, that can work, but it's assuming that those data points are converting into a conversion and a lead for Google. I know that sounds kind of technical, but the point is that you have to tell Google exactly what you want. It's got to work, and then gets optimized. Once Google really understands that, it can start working well. We typically see that after several months. But again, you can get data, you can get leads the first month, second month, and typically once it's really refined after several months, it's working very good. The major point to understand is even though it might take a little bit longer, you're gonna start capturing those higher intent customers. And if we're in Philly, you're gonna be capturing what 300,000 search demands a month. Even at a lower place, even 50,000 is a lot. So you don't need that many. No shop could handle all this. You couldn't even handle 1% of it. So even a fraction of these percentages in any city, uh, that's where the demand is going to be every month. All right, so that's Google Ads, people searching. Facebook ads is people wasting time all day long looking at cat videos, looking at stuff that doesn't matter. But the point is, you can get in front of those customers, get in front of those people who are actually interested in your business. And I'll explain that in a second. But Facebook ads, people say, what about Instagram? It's all the same platform. And there's about 20 some odd locations within the Facebook kind of sphere, where you're talking about marketplace and videos and reels and all those things. You can capture all those on Facebook ads, Instagram. Um, a lot of people tell me, hey, no one sees my posts on Facebook. And that's true. When your business post makes a post on Facebook, chances are, unless it's some amazing reel or some amazing video, it's probably going to get a few likes. The same people, family, friends that like your stuff, not real customers. And the reason is that regular posts are really only seen by, I think it's about 2 to 5% of your followers right now. So just think if you have 100 followers, it's 2 to 5 people. 1,000 followers, 20 to 50 people. And it's those same people. And those aren't really new customers. Those are the existing people. So the reason is you want to use Facebook ads to get your target audience. And Facebook used to be where you could post stuff and it'll reach so many people, but now with they want to push ads. But the good thing is you can reach people with Facebook ads and it doesn't have to cost a lot. I'm going to give you a couple examples here that you could do. So one thing for you to keep in mind and think about is Facebook ads will give you the objective you ask for. Now, within Facebook ads campaigns, there's a number of objectives, and a couple might be traffic, engagement, sales, leads. Well, if you tell Facebook you want engagement or traffic, they're going to give you that specific result. What I mean by that is if you tell Facebook, I want people to click on my ad and go to my website, they're going to give people who are likely to click, and that might be all they do, or likely to engage with your stuff. Um, so they're likely to people who are likely to comment on your post or give you a heart, but that doesn't translate into leads a lot. Sometimes it does. It just depends on how you have it set up. For us, we're talking about leads. So for the most part, you really want to choose the lead objective. And there's another option I'm going to give you here with kind of local branding. But here's a few ways that your shop could use Facebook ads. Leads would be the number one thing we're talking about because leads are what we want to fill this pipeline, and especially talking about this calculator, you want this many leads to grow your shop. So leads can be from a lead form, which we see works very well. Messenger, those two things work very similarly. A landing page is where it would go to that page that we showed earlier. Uh, and then you can do some phone calls and then local branding. So with leads, who is this kind of good for? It can be good for anyone, and we've seen it work for everyone across the board, including auto repair. The problem with leads on auto repairs, you're kind of getting that low-hanging fruit, people looking for oil changes and stuff, and it's not very high return. Uh, for these other ones, it can definitely be better. Detailers, PDR, hail repair is we definitely recommend Facebook ads because you can get on that location very quickly. You can target that hailstorm very quickly the next day. Custom stuff and auto body, these types of things, you're kind of capturing people who are interested in hiring vehicles. So this is very good with lead forms messenger. You can start with as little as $10 to $20 a day. So that for some people that may seem like a lot, some a little, but a lead will typically cost 15, $20 or so. So if you're starting with that much, it can work out well. I wouldn't start out with a lot more. You want to make sure that campaign is working before you do that. And then you can retarget. I'll mention that here in a second. But one thing is with the auto repair space, how I mentioned I probably wouldn't do Facebook leads, but one thing that can be very good is local branding. What I mean by that is, and you've probably experienced this where you see a video, you see a product, and you click on it. And the next thing you know, you're seeing that product or that service or that business over and over and over again. And that's what you want with the local branding piece. That's where it can be very beneficial. Even if you're in a larger metropolitan area, you can have a video posted of your shop. This can be the owner talking about the shop and how great they are. If someone watches 3 seconds of that or clicks on it or engages with it, you can actually create retargeting videos, which is what you get when someone sees your face again, again, again. So what I mean by that is that first video can be as little as $1 a day, which it sounds like it's not much, and it's not much. But then you can put another dollar on 3 or 4, 5 videos. So let's say you got 5 videos total for $5, which is not a lot, but we've seen shops get 10, 15, 20,000 views a month. And this is creating that repetition of showing that face to people over and over and over again. And that's what's creating that local branding. It's kind of the same thing as far as someone going to looking at a billboard over and over again. But in this case, people are actually seeing it. The billboard, they're just driving by it. So here you're seeing your face and you're getting that branding. It can be actually a good strategy because it gets ingrained in their mind. All right. So how long does the Facebook ads take to work? As opposed to Google, it can actually start working right away. Uh, when you're doing lead ads, especially for some of those other places I mentioned, you can start getting leads the same day or within a few days. In fact, one kind of rule of thumb we use is if we don't start seeing leads within a few days, there might be something wrong. One is the targeting might be off, the ad might be wrong. Some of those things with the local branding, it can work pretty quick too, but you're not spending a lot to get leads. You're getting your face out there. So that's a piece to keep in mind. They do need to be monitored. With Facebook, it's pushing it to people very quickly who are part of your target audience. With Google, it's people you have to wait for that audience to click. So it's two pieces, two kind of different pieces where Facebook, we can push it to those people. Google, we can't push it. We have to let them click. So we're waiting for that data. Facebook, we can push it and get that data a lot quicker. Hopefully that makes sense to you. And now the next piece is you're getting leads on Google, you're getting leads on Facebook, but what do you do with those leads? And one of the major pieces is creating kind of automated follow-ups, AI, using all these tools to really capture that lead quickly and convert them. So I'll give you a couple quick examples. One will be there is a lead page, landing page we looked at from the ad. So this is just the example for is a body shop example. But whether it's a landing page or a website form or some kind of form they fill out on your website, so they fill that out, or let's say they fill out a form on your Facebook ad. In either case, what we want is we want an automated text and email to go out pretty quickly. So most of the time, you've probably seen this. You probably filled out a form and you probably purchased something. You get a text and an email about it. Well, you want to do the same thing for a lead because you want to let them know, one, we got your information, and two, here's what the next step is. So here's an example of that, what that might look like. Text them, um, email them as well, and so text the lead, tell them what you want. It could be, hey, click below to schedule or whatever. And then text your sales team to say, hey, call this person back. And ideally, your sales team during the day, they're calling them back within a few minutes. Um, Ideally, 30 seconds, which is almost impossible. But imagine if you got that lead information and you called them back immediately, how that would blow their mind, especially in today's kind of busy time with businesses. So here's what the AI and automated follow-ups piece would look like. Automatically respond to leads, send them a text, an email, and a voicemail. So what's a voicemail drop? It's actually a voicemail drop. It's kind of bypassing the call and going straight to voicemail. Seems a little creepy, but it can actually work to get in their inbox, and a lot of times they'll actually call you back for that. With the AI, so here's an example of what we're seeing a lot of shops use now is imagine someone fills out this form on Facebook or this form on your website or landing page, and maybe the next thing is to schedule, but they don't actually schedule. So this AI agent can now actually start chatting with them to get them to book an appointment. So ideally, yes, you still want the human interaction, but if it's 10 o'clock at night or whatever, you can't do that. Or if your staff is too overwhelmed, then that AI person can actually help automatically schedule them. And a lot of times people don't even realize it's AI if you build it out right. So that's kind of what we recommend. And here, with the AI piece is you can have the AI chat for SMS, so text responses, try to get them to book appointments. You do want to be careful that you're not, the AI isn't telling them cost, obviously. But for most of these things, we're getting them to do appointments for estimates or in-person repairs. So you probably wouldn't want the AI to say, "Hey, here's how much it's going to cost." That might not work out too well. But that's where you're just scheduling that appointment. And then use on all website forms, chats, and ads. Okay, so that's the AI. That's the follow-up piece. The next key that we say is customer tracking. So if you're getting leads, if you're filling your lead pipeline, following up, well, you want to have a way to track them. And ideally, most shops are doing this in some manner. Some guys are still using, paper, spreadsheet. They're creating a spreadsheet from stuff that could be automated. So the more automated stuff you can do, the more time you can save and money. If you're saving time, you're saving money essentially to get out there quicker. But here's something we do is we have a kind of tracking system dashboard where you can kind of track leads and create customized pipelines where you're easily able to message them and interact with them. So this system, something like that, would really benefit a shop to really be able to convert and track leads. So really the customer tracking, track all these things, set appointments. And what we say is track customers at every stage along the production pipeline. So some some shops might, okay, guys in and out within an hour. Some shops might have a car for multiple days. That's where you'd want to have that automated text go out to a customer and say, hey, your car's being repaired. It's whatever stage it's in. So that can definitely help as opposed to having to go back and forth and text something, let them know. So you really want to keep customers in the loop as much as possible, ideally. And sending out email offers, responding on text and email. That is really the big auto shop growth process that we talk about, that we use for shops every single day, that process. And the big thing that I wanted you guys to understand is, the car count goal, the leads to hit that goal, and the strategies to get the leads. So really, if you understand that advertising helps to get the leads, then leads are phone calls or quote requests, and some leads turn into customers. So a lot of people have the misconception that everything's going to turn right into a customer, but you kind of have to walk that step, walk it through there. So this is really the overview. Is hopefully you identified your car count goal, and then the number of leads to hit that goal, and the strategies to get those leads. I told you I would send you how to get that car count goal. If you go over to autoshopmarketingpros.com and you can click on free. There's a calculator there, and that is basically what you could do. All right, so the next step really is, go try the calculator out and see that. But really the next, besides knowing the leads that you need and how to get there, it's how to get those leads. And for most shop owners, the best thing would be to find an expert to help you out with that. And so if you want to schedule a free strategy session with us to see how we can help you, just go to that autoshopmarketingpros.com and click on schedule and see how we can kind of help your shop to grow faster.